Just hours after the strike, the Kremlin also threatened to attack a new U.S. defense base in Poland with, quote, advanced weapons in Poland. Meanwhile, Ukraine's former military commander-in-chief is warning that World War III has already begun because of the direct involvement of Russian allies in the war. This, as senior North Korean general, a North Korean general was reportedly wounded in a recent Ukrainian strike on Russia's Kursk region, where more than 10,000 North Korean troops are deployed. Joining me now, former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor and CPAC board member, KT McFarland. KT, thanks very much for being here. Things are getting awfully serious here in this war.
Yeah, serious in two ways. I mean, one, President Trump has said he's going to negotiate an end to the war very quickly. The Russian president has said he's open to negotiations, and the Ukrainian president has said he's open to negotiations. And yet, who's not? It's the Biden administration. It's almost like the Biden administration has decided they're going to sabotage in advance any peace talks that President Trump might be able to have as he becomes president.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, when I say this is becoming serious, obviously I recognize this has been serious from day one. People are dying. It's just that now it looks like it's broadening out. Got North Korea, you know, you've got China getting involved. You know, you've got, I mean, really, even as Russian president, as you just said, Vladimir Putin is reportedly open to ceasefire talks with Trump. Reuters is reporting that Putin is refusing to give up any land to Ukraine and wants Kyiv to drop its bid to join NATO. KT, would that be a deal you think that could happen to actually end this thing?
Well, President Trump has said, I just want to get him to the negotiating table. I want to get the two guys to the negotiating table. He's not prejudging any kind of negotiation and what it would look like. I mean, that's up to the two factors. What I'm worried about as I'm watching this is that we're creeping up this escalation ladder right now in the closing days of the Biden administration. And what would happen if, say, these American-made weapons used by Ukraine, if these missiles start killing a lot of Russian civilians, or when the Russians are now in response firing their long-range, medium-range missiles, what if they kill Americans? You know, the American ambassador has said, evacuate the American embassy, shelter in sight, shelter in a safe place. What if Americans died hit by a Russian missile? You'd have an outrage. I mean, it would be an outcry. We would be in a war, which none of us want, but we would be stumbling into really because of the incompetence of the outgoing days of the Biden administration.
Well, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. What is going on as Biden is walking out the door? You know, he's approving these long-range missiles for Ukraine to use inside of Russia, something that obviously has sparked Putin to think we're beginning World War III. He's easing restrictions at the border, coming up with this new app that allows migrants to just do it on the phone rather than going in person. And then, you know, this app doesn't even identify whether or not that person has a warrant, past crimes. What is this? What is going on in the Biden administration? They're trying to blow the place up as they walk out the door.
Yeah, they absolutely are trying to blow it up. And this is not Joe Biden. I mean, he hasn't been in charge in quite a while. It's the people around him who are really the same people who were in the Obama administration.
Good point, yeah.
They're so angry Trump won the first time they tried to sabotage any foreign policy moves President Trump would make in his first term. Now they're really mad, and they're just trying to sabotage President Trump and hoping that he fails, and so then they'll be back in charge. But what's happened is that they're putting the security of the United States at risk in their anger and their venom.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the point. Meanwhile, let's talk about Israel for a moment. The International Criminal Court issuing arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense minister, Yoav Gallant. The ICC claiming that Netanyahu and Gallant have committed war crimes and crimes against humanity during Israel's war against Hamas. A spokesperson for the U.S. National Security Council says the court does not have jurisdiction and that the U.S., quote, fundamentally rejects this decision, KT. Of course, no mention of the fact that, it was Hamas on last October 7th who sparked this war.
Here there are two problems with this. One, the International Criminal Court, which the United States, by the way, we are not a signatory to that. So we don't go with their rulings. And when we're not a signatory, because the Constitution is sovereign in the United States, not some global international body made up of unelected, faceless, nameless bureaucrats, global elitists. So we're not a signatory, but more than 100 countries are, including, for example, Great Britain. So technically, if, let's say, Bibi Netanyahu is going to visit Britain, or he wants to go to France, or he wants to stop over and change planes or refuel, he could be arrested He could be put in handcuffs. He could be taken to the International Criminal Court and tried for war crimes. Now, this is an organization that has a history of being anti-Semitic and anti-Israel. It's like the world has gone crazy. Thank goodness. I mean, even in the closing days of the Biden administration, people are against that. And President Trump has already said, you know, there'll be repercussions. If Britain or anybody else tries to arrest Bibi Netanyahu, there'll be repercussions with American foreign policy.
Well, I mean, how much of a trigger was Biden and Harris and their reluctance to fully support Israel? I mean, come on. They kept saying ironclad, ironclad, Israel's ironclad. And then with the other side of their mouth saying, well, we're going to hold back weapons if we don't see a ceasefire tomorrow.
Yeah, and it was all done because the Biden administration wanted to get reelected, and they thought they needed Michigan and Minnesota and the Muslim American votes. Turned out that after all that, even then, they didn't get those voters. You know, President Trump got those states. So they were willing to sacrifice Israel for their own reelection. They goofed up on that, too. But as a result, the world looks and says, oh, if there's a wedge, we can drive a wedge between Israel and the United States. This is the moment to do it. They're wrong.
Yeah. KT, always great to get your insights. We so appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.